In this video, I'm going to be going over how to add a colorful noise overlay to a photo to turn a photo like this into one like this really quickly and easily. And why you might want to do that is to either have the photo better match a color story that you're working on or better fit a series of existing items that perhaps wouldn't match up with it too well if you didn't do this. Or if you're trying to do something like put type over an image or make an image not seem too busy, sometimes doing an overlay like this will help knock things down a little bit and make other things that you place on top of it that much more readable. So it's actually very easy to go in here and do this. So all I have to do to start out is open up your photo, or you can use a design or illustration, anything like that, where you want to put this overlay on top of it. And then there's two different ways you can go about adding the next step, and it's depending on if you want to use a solid color or a gradient like this one right here. So you just go to Layer, and then from Layer, you want to go to New Fill Layer, which is just below the top here. And you can pick either a solid color if that's what you want to do, or gradient if that's the style you're going for. Alternatively, you can go to your Layers menu right here, and at the bottom, there will be an icon shaped like a circle with a diagonal line going through it. And one half will be filled in, one half will not be filled in. Just click on that. And then up at the top here, you can select either solid color or gradient. I'm going to do gradient, but if you want to do solid color, you can go ahead and do that as well. So once this menu comes up here, you can click on this gradient icon, or if it's the solid color, just click on the color that's selected and then change it to be a color that you want it to be. But click on gradient right here, and then you can go ahead and create your gradient. And as a note right here, the bottom two colors right here are the actual colors of the gradient, and the top two are the opacity of the gradient. So the one left, if I click on this little tab right here, it says 100%, but often the one in the upper right will be set to 0% by default. So you might want to make that 100% if you want this to be a solid gradient. And then you just go ahead and double click on the tab itself to bring up the color picker. You can go ahead and pick two different colors right here to make the gradient the color that you want it to be. Once again, just double click on those little tabs at the bottom, which will then create this gradient. And once it looks the way you want it to look, you can hit OK. If you did a solid color instead, it's a little bit easier to do this as it's just one step where you pick that color and then go with it. So next up, what we want to do is add noise to this solid color gradient. And of course, if you don't want to add noise, you can skip this step, but it looks kind of neat. So if you do want to do that, just do this. So go up to Filter up at the top here, and from the filter menu at the top here, we want to go to noise, and from noise we want to add noise. So this will say basically that you need to convert this layer in order to add noise to it. So you want to convert it to a smart object. You can also rasterize it if you don't want to make edits to a gradient that you've made, for example, but I found it's actually more helpful for me at least to use a smart object, because then you can go in there afterwards and make changes to those colors if you want to do that. So I'm going to convert this to a smart object, which will then bring up the noise menu here. And for the noise amount, which defaults at 12.5%, I found a smaller number tends to look better. If you get too much noise in there, that's really all that you see. It totally overlaps the color or the gradient that you went ahead and added in here. Under distribution, you can use uniform or Gaussian. I'm actually not totally sure what the technical difference is there, but you can go ahead and pick whichever one you think looks the best. I tend to like uniform because it's not quite as apparent, but if you prefer the noise patterning of Gaussian, you can go ahead and do that. And monochromatic basically takes this noise and makes it a single color instead of a series of a bunch of colors, which noise by default has a ton of different colors in it. So if you want it to be like a solid black, essentially, you can hit monochromatic, but I tend to like the multiple colors, so I'm just going to leave that on. And once you're done and good to go here, you can just hit OK. So now we have our basic overlay built up, which is really the hard part, even though it was really quite easy to do this. Next up, there's a few different ways you can overlay this on your image. You can knock the opacity down from your layers menu from 100% to something smaller if you want it to be pretty much straight up overlay like that. But I tend to find that it looks a little bit dull in comparison to some other methods, which involve using different color overlay methods. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this opacity back up to 100% here and click on the menu with all these different options for overlay methods. So I've found that the ones that work the best here are between overlay and hard mix, in particular pin light, hard light, and linear light. So you can go ahead and click on any of these and just see how it looks and then go through the different options. If you're on a PC and you click one, you can use your arrow keys to go down or up depending on what arrow key you hit until you find one like this that works really well. In this case, this one is hard light. If you're on a Mac, I don't think those arrow keys work like this. I don't know why. I wish they did, but I'm pretty sure last time I tried it on a Mac, that did not work. But if it does, that is cool as well. So just go through the different options between overlay and hard light here and pick one that you think looks the best. And once you find it, you're pretty much good to go on it. And you can of course go back to the opacity right here and then knock this down a little bit if you don't want it to be quite as apparent. But in this particular case, I think having this pretty strong looks the best. So right here you have a very cool looking overlay with some noise on it. If I zoom in a little bit closer on this image here, you can see the different colors of that noise taking effect on these palm trees. trees right here. So it's a very stylized effect, and I think it looks pretty cool. And if you at any time want to change the color of your gradient or a solid color, you can just double click on this smart object, which will open up your fill in its own window right here. So in this case, it's a gradient fill. And then if you do want to change the color, you can just double click on that from the layers menu right here. Double clicking on the thumbnail is what will open that up for you. And then you can go ahead and click on this gradient if it's a gradient or solid color, and you can make changes here. And actually, while making this video, I saw an option in the gradient menu that's really cool, and I actually did not know existed before making this video. So under gradient type, there's solid by default, but there's also noise, and noise isn't what you're going to expect. It actually makes this thing look pretty crazy, but the end result is really cool. It's a patterning of colors. So to change the colors of the noise through this, you can just use these slider bars on the R, G, and B, and you can go ahead and slide these back and forth until it makes it look like you think you want this to look. So basically, when you move these bars right here, you're defining the range of colors that you let this thing be in. And I'm not totally sure when they added this particular style into Photoshop, but I think it's kind of fun and just something a lot different if you want a style that's not something you're used to seeing. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep on sliding these a little bit until I get a pattern that I think looks kind of neat. As you can tell, it's a lot of trial and error because I'm not totally sure exactly how this is deciding how this looks. But once you have a cool look here, you can hit OK if you want to use a crazy gradient pattern like this one right here. So hit OK, and once you do that, hit OK on the gradient fill or the color fill, depending on what you did right here. And then all that you have to do to make this change apply to this right here is save this window that opened up right here, this layer window, and then you can go ahead and close that when you're done. And as you can tell, that opened up in this, and the end result is actually pretty cool looking. It's kind of hard to describe exactly, but it kind of reminds me of almost like TV scan lines of color or something similar to that. It's a really cool effect, and it's not something that I knew was possible inside Photoshop until I was actually prepping to make this video. So a hidden bonus right there for both me and you. But that's it for this video. If you did like this video, please like and favorite. And if you want to leave your thoughts on it, be sure to leave a comment or even post stuff in the comments of what you've made using this video as a reference. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. I do my best to keep new content just like this coming for illustrators and designers. Thanks so much for watching.